Hi, welcome back to my channel. So today we are here at the Renaissance and I'm here to talk to you about the future of running a retail business in post-COVID times. So let's go. So there are three levers, or what I call the trinity, to running a retail business. First is sales, second is margin, and third is costs. If you control these three levers correctly, you result with a profitable retail business. So COVID has been forcing us to assess what's going on with our business. And of course, the most important factor of our business is sales. And sales has been really deeply impacted for retailers across the board. Whether it was in terms of the complete lockdown that happened in some countries for as much as 90 days, to some of the stores sporadically opening, having reduced trading hours, and even now that we've been open for almost a month to a month and a half, we are looking at trading levels at about 60 to 70% below last year, which means we all have to recalibrate our businesses. One of the biggest challenge for us as human beings is to accept change, and COVID has literally thrown a spanner in the works. Many of us have had to reassess our business, look at all these things that we would normally brush under the carpet have now come into the forefront, and we are forced to address it. The first order of business, in managing your business is doing a sales plan, and you might need to do that plan. You need to review it once a month, as much as even 15 days at a time, because in times like this when revenue is so slow, your business is hanging on the thread of cash flow, and how you manage your cash flow is going to determine whether you're going to last for the next 3 to 6 to 9 months. So you need to be extremely agile, very dynamic, on your feet, work very closely with your CEO and your CFO. Look at what is your short-term strategy of how you're going to manage your costs, how you're going to manage your liquidity. And liquidity is the only thing. Cash is king right now, and that is the only thing that's going to get you through the next 3 to 6 months. So on top of everyone's agenda should be conserving of cash and trying to stretch the rupee, the dirham or the dollar for as much as you can. Now let's move into the second lever. The second lever is margin. The magic bullet that retailers quickly pull out of their pocket is sale. We are not having top line, we're not getting customers in our store, let's do sale. That seems to be the only strategy, if ever anyone wants to adopt, to increase top line. And while it might be a short-term benefit in getting you the cash flow that you need, it definitely does irreparable damage to your brand. So this is something you need to take very seriously on your promotional activities, the length of your promotional activities, how your promotional activities are going to damage your margin, and so it's got to be some sort of a balance on how would you get to the right pricing to entice your customer to come into the store while also driving margin. So let's explore the ways of increasing gross margin. One of it is doing a price increase. Now, price increase is a very risky game to increase margin, because if you are in the value or the mid-market segment, price is of extreme importance to customers. So even a 5, 7 to 10% change that you engineer in your prices is going to impact your sales negatively. In COVID times, more so, people are looking for value. So other than discounts, you need to look at how can you increase value to your customers, not through sale, but through giving them products at a reasonable price. Another way of getting better gross margin is negotiating backwards with your suppliers, with your vendors, with your principals. So why is it important to negotiate with your principals and work through a backward gross margin scenario? Well, if you're in a country like Saudi Arabia, which is tripling its VAT from 5% to 15%, you're in a situation where you're deciding, am I going to take this out of my gross profit, or am I going to pass this on to the consumer? Now, if you're going to pass a price increase of 15% to your customer, you're definitely going to have your sales impacted. So you need to find the balance between your principals. You need to ask them to probably absorb 50% of that price increase. and you as a company absorb the 50% of the price increase, because at this time it is very important that you keep consumer confidence. The answer to getting your sales up is not increasing gross margin at this time. It is working with creative ways with your suppliers to make sure that your pricing is consistent for consumers and they don't feel that you're taking them for a ride. So we've spoken about sales, we've spoken about margin. The third lever is costs. And out of that, the most important lines that you will have in cost is salaries and rents. So let's talk about rents first. So talking about rents is a bit like opening a can of worms. The reason I say that is because malls all over the world did a lot of injustice to retailers, expecting them to pay 100% of the rent during the lockdown. The waivers were few and far between. It was only when the gun was put to the head approach that they decided to backstep and then give tenants some waivers, but the bitter taste has already been left in the mouth. And in places like India, where retail actually happens on the side streets, many retailers, I'm sure, will be thinking about how they're going to rebalance their portfolio, how they're going to move away from malls and how they're going to move more into marketplaces. This has been a long time coming because the malls were always one-sided in their approach. They had a very monochromatic view of where things should be, and it was never in favor of the retailer. So this COVID, in fact, is a good rebalancing act where they realize now how important tenants are going to be to the mall, and it's not an option anymore. So what I wanted to say is that this is not a game of Russian roulette. You might have to shut down some of your stores, and that is definitely a difficult emotion to deal with. But if you're running a business, you need to understand what is your mall strategy, what is your A grade, B grade, C grade malls. You look at individual stores profitability, you look at geographies, you look at reach, you look at catchment areas. You have all these parameters in place, whether it is short term, mid term, strategic, and that's when you come up with a plan to say, okay, these are the stores I need to have, these are the stores that will be good to have, and these are the stores I need to shut down. And as sad as it may sound, you might need to shut down some of your stores to conserve your business. At the end of the day, the business takes precedent over emotion of keeping your stores, going. So the last part of your cost structure is definitely salaries, and salaries have to do with employees. Employees are assets. Having said that, during this time of COVID, any employee who you had in your cost structure in the past who was not productive enough would have probably been able to stay in between the cracks, not being noticed for not contributing enough. But COVID has basically brought out issues that we can't sweep under the rug anymore. So while COVID has thrown up a lot of challenges it's thrown up an equal amount of opportunities as retailers. The first is, you will have a lot of retailers shutting down. So competition is in fact going to reduce. That gives you a chance of increasing your market share. So if you're good at doing what you're doing, you should do a better job or keep it up so that you can stay in business and increase your penetration. Another thing that is on the rise is marketplaces where people are spending more time at home. They are moving from offline to online. So you need to basically look at your brands. How can you, besides leveraging your own website, tie up with other marketplaces like it could be Amazon, Myntra, Noon, Tata Click, Jio. These are the kind of marketplaces where you can get additional revenue from. So please don't discount this. Start looking at how you can expand your range onto those marketplaces. Another thing is that most of the people who are cash rich in terms of retailers, this is the right time for you to go out and acquire brands at a good price. Look at consolidation of assets. Look at domination of the marketplace. Look at becoming a category of one. Another thing, what is in trend is curbside shopping. So curbside shopping is nothing but a fashionable term for you buy it online, you collect it in the store. And many malls in India, like for example Phoenix, Mantri, they've started curbside shopping. So anything to do with touchless is where you can dominate the space. Most importantly, COVID has taught us that you know less is more. So when you're looking at this mindset of a lot of people conserving cash, not going out that often, wanting to spend less, you need to look at your assortment and look at entry level price points. That's going to become a key in your success. As people move to value, value does not mean sale. Value means value for money. Value means getting something at a good price that is not on sale but is accessible to your core consumer. And like most of your consumers are affected. They've got either reduced salaries, some of them have lost their jobs. So you need to think as a retailer very creatively on how you can still position yourself to make that consumer want to buy, to keep yourself relevant and make yourself accessible to a broader segment of the market. And most importantly, the opportunity you have right now is optimizing your workforce, making sure that the best of the best remain, making sure that the people who you carried as deadwood are no longer there with you, sad but true. And these are some of the ways that you can look at achieving success as a retailer as we move through COVID. Thank you for coming back to my channel, and I'll see you at the next video. Have a good evening.